I am a huge Castlevania fan, arguably more so than Final Fantasy. So whenever I see any sliver of hope that a new Castlevania game might be coming by way of the TV show or a new collaboration that's being done with Castlevania, I get really excited, and yet I'm always left blue-balled by the fact that one never seems to happen. So in today's video, I want to do a little dive into what on earth is going on with the Castlevania franchise, especially given the popularity of these various projects, especially the TV show, and I want to know what Konami is doing given the success of other projects that have come out with their name on it. As a huge fan of the franchise, it's extremely frustrating that Konami has been so hesitant to release a new Castlevania game, especially when the timing could not be better to release one. Castlevania is one of the most influential titles in gaming history, and is one half of the creation of the entire Metroidvania subgenre, so it's kind of unbelievable that the most recent Castlevania game to be released on consoles is Lords of Shadow 2, which was released in 2014, 10 years ago, and is a terrible game. And no, I'm not going to mention any of the pachinko machines or anything like that, nor am I going to mention Grimoire of Souls or Haunted Castle Revisited, although that game actually is kind of fierce if you own the Dominus collection. However, since 2018, or the time in which the TV show started to come about, we have seen Castlevania pop up in gaming culture a lot, probably starting in May 2018 with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which is a spiritual successor to Castlevania made by Koji Igarashi and was very successful, but we've seen Richter and Simon turn up in Smash Bros. We've seen Dead Cells celebrate Castlevania. We've seen other games pop up with Castlevania characters like V Rising and Dead by Daylight, and even Astrobot, and then most recently Vampire Survivors, a game heavily inspired by Castlevania, has Castlevania in it before we've seen a new Castlevania game. This is even more shocking given how popular and how successful the Castlevania TV show has been. Castlevania the TV show is based heavily on Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse, featuring iconic characters like Trevor Belmont, Cypher Belnades, Alucard, and of course Dracula. The TV show, however, started in 2017, so 7 years ago, nearly 8, and while we're enjoying Castlevania Nocturne still, even though it's not nearly as good as the original Castlevania TV show, we're still waiting to see if a game comes that capitalizes on how successful this TV show is. Not only that, but we've even seen Castlevania games coming back in full force with popularity through the Anniversary Collection, the Advanced Collection, and most recently the Dominus Collection, which have some of the best Castlevania games known to man on them, outside of Symphony of the Night. It is so clear that the developers of Castlevania are wanting to demonstrate how enduring the appeal of the franchise is through these various re-releases, the TV show, these crossover projects like Smash Bros. And Vampire Survivors, but not one of them represents the development of a new game. When you compare this to other franchises of a similar genre like Metroid, which came back with Metroid Dread and is showing massive promise with Metroid Prime 4, it's so possible to successfully relive these classic series and bring them back into the forefront, but Konami just seems to not want to do it. And let's be honest, it's not like they can't revive Castlevania if they don't want to, because we've already seen how successful Konami project revivals can be, like with the revival of Silent Hill 2. The remake for that game is fantastic, and it's been outsourced to Bloober Team, and we know that we've got Metal Gear Solid Delta coming soon as well, so if they can get revived, why not Castlevania? Of course, we have tried to revive Castlevania and completely reboot it once before with the Lords of Shadow franchise, and while I don't dislike the first Lords of Shadow game, I do however feel very strongly against Lords of Shadow 2. At no point during a game in which you play as the Lord of Darkness Dracula should you be running and hiding in the guise of a rat. It just never had that je ne sais quoi that the other Castlevanias, or more specifically the Igavanias, had, certainly with modern gameplay. We could do so much more, and that's been showcased with future Metroidvanias like Bloodstained or Hollow Knight or all sorts of other games like that. There are a lot of people out there like me that are extremely attached to the Castlevania franchise as well. I have no shame in admitting that when I saw this trailer for Return to Castlevania for Dead Cells, I shed tears. I really did. It was on stream and everything, and it was really embarrassing, but that's just how much this franchise means to me. So combine the idea of a team that's outsourced to make a new Castlevania that clearly has reference to the series, like Motion Twin did for Dead Cells or Ponkel did for Vampire Survivors, along with the timing of the fever pitch that there seems to be with Castlevania, and there really is no better time to release a new one than now. I've been gushing about HD 2D games for a little while on this channel, but what I'm trying to get across is the fact that the gaming nostalgia for the 80s and 90s is at an all-time high right now, so there's a massive opportunity to appeal to long-time fans of the franchise with a new game that maybe even brings across the narrative strengths that the TV show has. There are some incredible games out there inspired by Castlevania as well, even if they're not directly comparable to it, like Blasphemous, which is a stunning, fierce series that I very much encourage you to play if you like Castlevania and haven't done so already, that somewhat fill the void left by Konami, but there is definitely still an absence felt by there not having been a Castlevania game in over 10 years. So there's clearly a demand for games like that, and the talent is very obviously out there to make a new game in the Castlevania series, and given the wide array of tone that these games have had, you can make it as dark or as goofy or as cheesy or as funny as you like. Even 3D Castlevanias like Lament of Innocence or Curse of Darkness, or even something like Castlevania 64 could be made for a modern audience, because nowadays we have a formula that works really well for games like this, namely Soulsborne style games, because those are directly influenced by Castlevania as well. With Castlevania Nocturne Season 2 on the horizon and hopes that it'll tie into a Symphony of the Night style storyline, we can hope that maybe there's a new Castlevania video game on the horizon, but at this point I'm kind of just skeptical rather than hopeful. I don't think a Symphony of the Night remake is the way to go either. If anything, I think a Castlevania 3 Dracula's Curse remake would be really cool, with modern gameplay mechanics, modern narrative storytelling that borrows from the TV show, because I don't really want to water down this amazing cutscene, because I think the cheesiness is part of what makes it so good. Let's not forget as well that literally every Castlevania game in existence is now for some reason insanely expensive, so I think the demand is there to want to see something new. I don't know, I would just give anything to be able to see Ayami Kojima style artwork in my life again that's brand new, but what do you think? What would you like to see in a new Castlevania game? A return to 2D Metroidvania roots, a return to the 3D Dark Souls style game that Lament of Innocence and Curse of Darkness had, or something entirely new, preferably not Lords of Shadow 2? And why do you think Konami has been so hesitant to create a new entry in the series? Comment below, and if you're not sure what to comment, then just type the word algorithm, because I love you for it and it helps me drive engagement on this channel. Thank you ever so much for watching, and I'd love for you to like this video and comment with your thoughts on the Castlevania series in general. And honestly, I just want to keep the conversation alive around Castlevania, because hey, maybe one day Konami will finally answer the call and give us the Castlevania revival we've all been waiting for. If you've enjoyed this content, consider leaving a thumbs up and subscribing to the channel. This is a little out of my comfort zone for the kind of game I normally cover, but I adore Castlevania so much that I just can't keep quiet about it anymore, so I'd love to continue this conversation. Come find me on Discord or Twitch or TikTok. I'm under the same name under everything, and there's links down in the description box below for all of those. And if you'd like to support the channel, then consider checking out my Etsy store, where I make hand-drawn art prints of characters all across video game history, including Castlevania, or you can join up on my Patreon site down below as well. So thank you very much if you decide to do that, and I shall love you and leave you until next time. Take care everyone, bye bye.